Hi, this tutorial is going to be covering the capacitive sensor. So we're going to turn a simple electrode. Let's see if I can get it into the shot there. A simple electrode, which is just a copper wire, copper tape, or some kind of conductive material attached to a wire. And we're going to turn that into a switch or a sensor using the capacitive sensing library and just a very simple circuit. Okay, so first of all, we're going to build the circuit. Now I'm going to take my sensor here and pop it into a rail. Let me get my fancy sensor with that's on a little bit of a tactile device. Okay, so I'm going to take my sensor and I'm going to find an empty rail. And pop that in there. I guess this is going to be 16 then. Okay, that's securely in there. Okay, so the circuit consists of just two connections to the Arduino. There's a send pin and a receive pin. Okay, so the send pin will be connected to our capacitive sensor, our little electrode, through a very high value resistor. So right here I have some, oops, sorry. I'll move all back into the picture in a minute once I grab my resistor. I have some 1 mega ohm resistors. Okay. And I'm going to connect that. I'm going to make the circuit this way because I'm going to use one of the rails up here, one of the ground or hot rails, because you can use the same send pin for multiple sensors. You have to have a different receive pin but the same send pin. So I'll create multiple send pins there. So I'm just going to use pin number 6 here for my send pin. So that's digital 6. This Pro Micro 6 is digital 6 as well. And I'm going to send that to one of the rails. We'll just use the hot rail. Slightly closer. Okay, so pin 6 is hooked to one of the rails. Okay, and now I'm just going to use my 1 mega ohm resistor to connect one side of the capacitive sensor, one side of the electrode, to that send pin via the rail. Okay, so this is my resistor going into one side of the capacitive sensor, the electrode, and then hooked into the rail. We're using the hot rail. Okay. Let's see if we can get that a little straighter. Of course, you can cut these if you want. So there's a resistor, 1 mega ohm resistor, one side of the sensor through the rail into pin 6. Okay, and then I'll make pin 7 my receive pin, and that's just going to go from the other side of the sensor, okay, into, I guess this rail 10 here will be my pin 7. Pin 7 through this hookup wire just to the other side of the sensor. The sensor sits in between the receive pin and the send pin, which is connected to the resistor. And there you go. It's as easy as that. Nothing more to it than that, the circuit. Okay. So then let's look at then the software. And I have my cheat software right here, but we'll go ahead and start it from fresh. So let's create a new sketch here. And the first thing I have to do is I have to include the capacitive sensing library, capacitive sensor library. That can be downloaded from the web, or I'm sure it can be downloaded here from within your sketch. So you can import a library, and I guess you'd go to add library and you would find it. Oh, okay, right. Arduino doesn't have the download. So let's have a quick look Might as well do that while we're here. Look at the library. So if you just do a simple search for capacitive sensing library, Arduino, and it's Arduino Playground, and we can download that right here. Ooh. Okay. Well, not sure which one to take, but we might as well just grab that one there. Okay. So that downloads. We'll unzip it there. And you can then, once you have it, you can direct your sketch to it. You can go import library, add library, and go to, where is it, downloads, JAing downloads, and gosh, capacitive sensor. And I guess you can just actually point right to the zip. Okay, I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do it. And then just hit choose, and it will install your library. Okay, and then when you want to include it in your sketch, you're going to have to go to Sketch, Import Library, and include the capacitive sensor library. Okay, and it'll put this little bit of text there that it'll include it. All right, so we're getting ready to go. Now we have included our library, and we're going to set up our sensor. So we just have the one sensor. So we're going to do a variable called capacitive sensor. Okay. Let's see. I'm spelling that wrong. Oh yeah, no space, of course. Okay. And then we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call this CS1, for example. And then it's going to be equal to assigned to a capacitive sensor. And then you have to declare the send pin and then the receive pin. So CAPACITIVE. Okay. Sorry, I should have this side by side. Yeah. Capacitive sensor. So we said 6 is our send pin and 7 is our receive pin. So is that correct? Yeah, 6 and 7. That's right. Okay. So we're declared CS1 as our capacitive sensor. And then in setup, I'm just going to start the serial monitor so I can have some output. And I'll do it at 9600 baud. Okay. And then in the loop, I'm going to grab the value. So I'll have a long, and then I'm going to call it CS1V for value, and it's going to equal to the CS1 sensor dot CAPACITIVE sensor. Okay, the function, and then a resolution, which I think 80 works well. I've seen 30 used as well. Okay, and then we can just print that value. So then we can say serial dot print. We'll print line, and then we'll print the value CS1V, and then we'll have a delay here. So the serial monitor doesn't get jammed up, or serial port. So delay, say 15 milliseconds. Okay. All right, so that's all you really need. So let's then plug in our Arduino. If I can find my plug, which is here somewhere. Just trying to avoid burning things with, everything's a bit tight here. I have a hot soldering iron and all kinds of peripherals on my computer, and then trying to plug in my Arduino. So there we go. We're going to look at this myself. Right, okay, so we are going to plug in the Arduino. And I've made this little sensor, so it's a little tactile. I just took the lid of sort of a Chinese takeout container, and I've taped down my capacitive sensor there. It was, adhesive backed copper tape, so I just sort of adhesed it back there and put a piece of electric tape over it just to keep it down there. Now, since it's capacitive, so it's as you approach, you can actually also cover that up with some thin clear tape as well to just keep it down. I didn't have any handy, so, and then I put it on this lid, or the bottom of that lid, so it has a bit of a tactile feel. It's kind of a poor man's switch. I'm sure you can come up with a much more clever solution than that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and upload that then to my Arduino. Oh, I have to save first. We'll call this sense 1. Okay. Okay, and if I have my serial monitor, you can see a bunch of numbers, and if I get it kind of touch the sensor, the numbers get quite high. If I let go of it, the numbers are low. If I go quite high, the numbers are low. So, and then you can just sort of calibrate things, and I'll show you how to do that now. So that's working quite nicely. And if you want to make it sort of an on-off switch, you can calibrate things. You can also sort of have maybe steps as you get closer. See, the number gets up. I'm just slightly getting closer, and the number is going up. Okay. Now, to make that more sensitive, you can put in a much higher resistance resistor. So that's 1 mega ohms, but you can, I think, do a 10 mega ohms or 40 mega ohms. And I think it takes a little bit longer to read, but you can have a sort of a proximity sensor. So you can get not quite touching it. You can kind of float above it, and it will start reading there. That's worth a try if you want a sort of proximity sensor. It's a really nice, cheap, and easy way to do that. And you know, it's kind of magical. It's kind of fancy. So so now let's first let's calibrate it a little bit, so we can have a look and see what's actually going on. I'm going to make this much slower, yeah, so I can see what's going on. 500 delay. I'll upload that to the board again, and this printouts will come much less. So I have quite high readings there when I'm touching it. I'm not quite touching it there. Let's see, I'm going to look and see if you can see on my camera. Yeah, you can. Okay. So I'm not quite touching it there, and it has these 100 readings. So when I'm not touching it all, it goes down to, well, we have readings of 0. Oh, that's good. 9, 16, 22, something like that. They all seem to be, well, no, I was going to say under 50, but not. Well, under 100 at least. And these readings are well above 1,000, really. Are there any readings below 1,000? Not really. 108. So under 100 and above 1,000. We'll just do something very simple like that. Okay, so we have 2 thresholds there. Let's turn that back to 15. And so what do I mean by these thresholds? Above 1,000, under 100. We can create, just like we did with the normal push buttons, we can create a little gate there. And we will say this will be called int. Oh, sorry. No, a Boolean. And it will be CS1G for gate. And we'll set that to true initially. Okay. So now, let's do that. So now, here, what we can do simply is then create a little gate so it only sends one value through. So this is like an on-off switch. Of course, you don't have to have an on-off switch, but this is one way to do that and to test the different thresholds. So we'll simply say, let's see, right, if this is true, CS1G, the gate is true, then, and make sure we end in the if, and then we'll have another if in there, if, and this is where we do the thresholds. So if CS1V, that's the value here from our sensor, is greater than 1,000, then we'll print these. Okay. And also we will shut that gate, CS1G equals false. We'll shut the gate so that only one value will come through. All right, so 1 on. Okay, and then we'll have a release gate for when we release the button. So this will be if if false, CS1G G is false. So we reset it to false. Okay. And another if statement in there. If CS1V is less than 100, then we'll print it and put it true. We got to get that delay out of there. We don't need that delay here. And the delay, sorry, is meant to be all the way down at the bottom at the end of all this. Just before the end of loop, but not in any of the if statements. Okay. So we'll print the lower value and we'll turn that to true. So then that is on release of the button or the sensor, and then it lets us do 1 and 1. One on value and one off value. Okay, so you can actually don't have to print the actual value. You can send maybe a 1 and a 0 too. That's a possibility. Okay, so let's upload that to our things. Make sure my sensor is still in the picture. Yep. Okay, it's been uploaded, and then so if I touch it, it goes. If I release it, it lets go. Touch it, let's go. Touch it, let's go. Oops, it didn't let go. So it could be that we have to set that threshold much lower. Or higher, actually. Oops. Okay. Right. Set it a tad bit lower. So maybe say 80 or something like that. So let's see what happens if we set that for 80. So that's the release threshold. Upload that again. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think every person is different and the conditions are different. So this might be the kind of thing that you have to calibrate per person. Okay. That seems to work pretty good. The release is still a little bit problematic. I guess I have to go a little bit further away. We can certainly lower it. Maybe say 60. Oh, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe that was the problem. No, that seems to work very nice. I mean, no, I think it becomes less if we raise it, right? So we can make it like 300 actually, right? Can't we? Is that right? Am I confused? Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, that's nice. And we don't get multiple values up there because when we're touching it, it's well above 1,000. There. Very nice. Okay. So there you go. We have a capacitive sensor there. And right, and then we have made it an on-off switch. Okay, so let's go ahead and just continue. I was going to make this another video, but maybe not. And I can go quickly and so zoom in a little bit here. Make multiple switches now. So I'm going to grab another another electrode there and pop her into an empty rail again. Just one, two, not too far there. Okay. Hopefully you can see past some of these wires that are in the way. Doesn't seem to want to go in. See if I can get that sucker in there. Okay. So there we go. That's in there. And same thing now. Remember, we have the same send pin. It's all going to use pin 6 here. That white wire going into pin 6 is going to the rail. And then all the send pins will go to via resistor to that same pin. Okay, so I'm going to grab another 1 mega ohm resistor. I don't have any of the 40 or 10 mega ohms on hand, but you know, you can experiment with those, and it just changes the sensitivity. So again, on this side of the rail, this side of the sensor, sorry, and send that over to the rail. So let's get that guy out of there. So I don't know if you can see that, right? So that's my sensor. I just used a resistor 1 mega ohm to the rail, and eventually to pin number 6. Okay, but now the receive pin now is to be a unique pin. So, and that's the other side of the sensor there. So I'll go ahead and pop that in on that side and give it to pin 8. Right, so this side of the sensor has gone to pin 8. Okay, let's just do that same thing again. I'm going to find myself one last electrode. Last electrode there. Okay, use another rail, not too far here. See if I can get that one in nicely. The wire's a bit delicate, even though I tinned it. Doesn't seem to want to go in. Okay, well that's all right. It seems to go in. We'll find out. Okay, same thing. We're going to take one side of it to the via resistor to this hot rail. Okay, another 1 mega ohm resistor. And to the hot rail, which is going to be going directly to pin number 6, which is our collective send pin. Okay, and then a unique receive pin. The other side of the electrode, this time to pin 9. Okay. All right. Oh, one thing, big boo-boo is I meant to have that off because you don't want to fry our Arduino. Okay, so powered off. All right, so there's that. The 3 sensors plugged in. See if you can see it now. The third one, that's going to pin number 9. This green wire there. Okay, pin number 9. And the other side, of course, is going to through the resistor to the rail to pin 2. Okay, so let's adjust our software now as well. We're going to declare 2 more pins here. It's going to be CS2 there in this case, and it's the send pin is still okay, 6, but the receive pin now is 8. Okay, and then we'll have a Boolean as well for that. Well, let's finish the sensors too then. So we'll have a third sensor, CS3. And again, send pin 6 is okay, and it's going to be received on 9. So we confirm that, right? The third one is 9, the second one is 8, and the first one is 7. And they're all going to receive pin 6. I mean, send pin 6. Okay. Hope you can see that okay. See if I can focus that in just a bit more. Oops. 6, 7, 8, 9. Really hard to see, but I think that's the best I can do. 6, 7, 8, 9. And those are the 3 receive pins, and the unique send pin is going to, the collective send pin is 6, going through the rails. Okay. Then let's have 3 different gates as well, because we'll need to do that for each one. So CS2G and a CS3G. All right. And then we're just going to copy all this bit of code from, we'll do these 3 things. We're going to create these 3 readings. Okay, so copy that line. We have to create 3 of them. So the long CS2V is going to read sensor CS2, again at the 80 resolution. And CS3V will then be CS3 at that 80 resolution. Okay, and this is the part we copy. And we can make a little header. We'll call this capacitive CS1. Okay, and we're going to copy all of that to right before the delay, both if statements. Copy that and paste that there. So we have CS2 now. and it's going to be CS2 gate. If it's true, then we're going to, and we'll see. Let's leave all the values the same. I don't want to presume that they're all calibrated exactly the same, but they should be pretty close, I think. Just change a 2 for the print CS2V false. And let's put in a little header there so that it'll work well with our software when we're sending to processing in SuperCollider. But here, so we can see which pins are working and which pins aren't, we'll save a serial.print line, and we'll just put CS1 colon like that. Okay. And the same thing here, we'll copy that line actually and paste that here as well. That's for off. And we'll paste that here, but we have to change it to CS2. And we'll paste that here as well in CS2. Okay, so CS2, we changed that, we didn't update these ones yet though. CS2, CS2V, print line CS2V, and update the gate CS2 true. Okay, now again, let's copy all of that here, all the way to right before delay, and we'll make a CS3. My font's a little bit too big, and so it's scrolling, auto-scrolling. CS3, CS3G, CS3V, CS3, CS3V, and CS3G. CS3G, CS3V, CS3, CS3V, and CS3G. Okay, so now we have all three sensors going, and we'll test out the sensitivity based on the current readings, and then if not, we can recalibrate some of them. Okay, so plug our thing back in. And let me get a little wider angle view. Right, so that's a little bit of wider angle view. Upload that. And run the serial monitor. Put that over here so I can look at the picture as well. Look at everything and see if that's working. So this is CS3, and that seems to be working just fine. And this is, I guess, CS2, and that seems to be working just fine. And then our CS1 shouldn't have changed at all. Oops, if anything, it's a bit sensitive. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, well, lovely. So there you go. So we have successfully added 3 capacitive sensors here to our sketch. And it's just sort of duplicating these ones. I haven't figured out how to use, if you remember in the buttons, I had a kind of an easier way using for loops and arrays so that you can just very quickly change the number of sensors. I haven't been successful using an array of capacitive sensors, so I think it's just manually copying. It's a little bit more verbose, but still effective, and really at the end of the day, not that much more text. Okay, so very good. Hope that was helpful and useful. Good luck in getting that done. The next video, I think we'll try to tackle incorporating multiple sensors, capacitive and normal switches, and seeing if we add that to our other sketches. Okay, good luck with that.